There's a truth most men never realize until it's too late. A woman almost always has options. She's approached at work, at the gym, online, or through friends. And whether she entertains them or not, the fact remains, she lives in a world of abundance when it comes to attention. But here's the paradox. That abundance is precisely what makes her choice so significant. The one man she truly gives herself to is not the one who tried the hardest, begged the most, or chased her endlessly. Nor is this the one who tried the hardest, begged the most, or chased her. It's the one who made her feel something deeper than all the noise surrounding her. And if you want to be that man, you have to step out of the role most men play without even realizing it. The role of the disposable option. I remember a man named Daniel who came to me once, broken by confusion. He said, she was seeing me, but she kept her Tinder active. She'd text me back, but sometimes disappear for hours. She'd laugh at my jokes, but then go out with her girlfriends and flirt with other guys. I thought if I tried harder, showed her more attention, proved my loyalty, she'd see that I was the better choice. But the harder I worked, the less she respected me. Do you see the pattern? Daniel thought love was about convincing, persuading, proving his worth to someone who hadn't chosen him yet. But all it did was lower his value in her eyes. Because women don't choose men out of pity or obligation, they choose out of attraction, out of respect, out of the undeniable pull of a man who knows who he is. The first shift you have to make is psychological. You cannot approach her as though she is the prize and you are the contestant. That's how most men act, competing for her attention, standing in line, waiting for approval. The reality is, when you act like one of her options, you remain just that, an option. But when you step into the frame of a man who is not trying to be chosen, but instead living as though he is the chooser, something inside her flips. It's subtle, almost invisible, but she feels it. She feels the difference between a man who is there to be accepted and a man who knows that his presence is already acceptance enough. I want you to picture this. Two men walk into a room. Both are good-looking, both are dressed well, both are interested in her. The first man tries to win her attention. He asks questions, rapid fire, laughs at everything she says, offers to buy her a drink, and nods eagerly at her stories. The second man listens, pauses before he speaks, and when he does, his words carry weight. He doesn't laugh at everything, only when it's genuine. He doesn't try to fill the silence, he allows her to feel it. And in that silence, she leans in. She starts wondering what he thinks. She invests. And in that moment, without saying a word, he has separated himself from the sea of options. Which man do you think she chooses? Women are wired to notice the difference between attention and intention. Attention is everywhere. It's free, cheap, constant. Every man with a phone can flood her DMs with compliments. Intention, though, is rare. Intention is when your presence communicates something unspoken. I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to convince you. I know who I am, and whether you see it or not doesn't change my reality. This is not arrogance, it's grounded confidence. And here's where deep psychology comes into play. Women test, not because they are cruel, but because they are wired to seek certainty. They will ignore your text to see how you respond. They will flirt with another man in front of you to gauge your composure. They will delay choosing you because they need to feel if your steadiness is real or just an act. And in those moments, most men collapse. They chase harder, argue, complain, demand clarity, and by doing so, they prove they were never steady at all. I'll never forget a story from my own circle. A man named Ryan was dating a woman who had countless suitors. She was beautiful, ambitious, always in the spotlight. Everyone wanted her. Ryan told me once, I realized early on that I could never outshine all those men by effort alone, so I stopped competing. Instead, I just lived my life. I focused on my work, my goals, my training. I made her a part of my world, not the center of it. At first, she tested him relentlessly, canceling plans, making him wait, even mentioning other men. But Ryan never flinched. He didn't punish her, didn't reward her, didn't beg for her attention, he simply held his ground. Months later, she confessed, "The reason I chose you is because you were the only one who didn't need me to choose you." That's the paradox every man has to understand. So how do you apply this? Stop thinking in terms of strategies and tricks. Stop asking, "What can I do to make her pick me?" And start asking, "Am I living as the kind of man a woman would feel compelled to choose?" Because the truth is, choice is not made in her head. It's made in her body, in her emotions, in the silent way she gravitates towards you when you embody strength, purpose, and self-respect. A man with options of his own doesn't crumble when faced with hers. A man who knows his worth doesn't negotiate it for approval. And a man who holds himself steady when tested creates a gravitational pull that no other option can match. Now, I want you to sit with this truth. She doesn't need you to fight other men for her. She needs you to show her that you are already victorious without the fight. That's when her eyes soften, her defenses drop, and her choice becomes clear. Because, in a world full of men trying to be noticed, the one who truly stands out is the man who doesn't need to be. And that's where we'll pause this chapter, because the story is only beginning. In part 2, we'll dive deeper into the hidden tests women use, the traps most men fall into, and how to embody the kind of presence that makes her decision inevitable. For now, remember this. The moment you stop acting like an option is the moment she starts seeing you as the only choice. There comes a point in every man's pursuit of a woman where the surface attraction isn't enough anymore. The first conversations, the spark, the flirtation, that's the easy part. Any guy can charm for a moment, make her laugh, get her attention, but what she's really waiting for, often unconsciously, is to see whether you can withstand the weight of her tests. Because every woman, whether she admits it or not, will test, not maliciously, not to play games, but to feel something real in you. Think about it. If her future, her trust, her heart, her body, and possibly her children could be tied to the man she chooses, wouldn't she need to know he's strong enough, steady enough, trustworthy enough? And the only way to know that is to push against him, to see if he bends or breaks. Let me tell you about a man named Alex. He was dating a woman who was stunning, the kind of woman men stare at when she walks into a room. At first, she adored him. She laughed at his jokes, she texted him constantly, she seemed all in. But then, slowly, she began to withdraw. She would cancel dates last minute, she'd leave his messages on read, she'd tell him she was too busy. Alex panicked. He doubled his efforts, sent flowers to her office, wrote long texts about how much she meant to him, tried to remind her of how good things were in the beginning. But here's what he didn't realize. Those moments weren't a signal that she had lost interest. They were the beginning of her tests. She wanted to know if his confidence was real or if it only existed when she was giving him constant validation. And the more he tried to convince her, the more he revealed that his center was dependent on her approval. She didn't pull away because she didn't like him. She pulled away because she needed to know if his masculinity was built on something deeper than her smiles. This is where most men fail. They think a test is rejection. They think her silence means it's over. They think her flirtation with another man is betrayal, but in truth, it's often a signal flare. Show me who you are when it's not easy. Do you crumble? Do you chase? Do you demand answers? Or do you hold your ground, keep your frame, and show her that her storm cannot move you? Because here's the reality. Women aren't attracted to men who never face tests. They're attracted to men who pass them. Think of it like this. A tree looks strong on a sunny day, but you only know its roots are deep when the storm comes. In the same way, a man looks confident when a woman is laughing at his jokes and texting him non-stop, but his real depth is revealed when she goes cold. That's when his roots, his self-worth, his patience, his discipline are exposed. And a woman doesn't want a tree that falls in the first storm. She wants a tree she can lean on, no matter what winds blow through her life. I once knew a man named Chris who understood this instinctively. He was dating a woman who had dozens of men chasing her. She was a model, constantly being invited to parties, flown out to events, surrounded by wealth and status. One night she deliberately told him about a celebrity who had asked her out. Any other man would have snapped, accused her of disrespect, or begged her not to leave. Chris simply smiled and said, "I don't compete. You'll either see what you have in front of you or you won't." And then he changed the subject. He didn't ignore her, but he didn't take the bait either. Days later, she broke down crying and told him, "That was the moment I knew you were the man for me. You were the only one who didn't try to prove himself." What happened there? She created a test to see if he would lose his frame in the face of competition. Instead, he revealed an unshakable certainty in himself. That's what separated him from every other man. The traps most men fall into are predictable. They argue when they feel disrespected, not realizing that arguing with a woman rarely restores respect. It only shows insecurity. They overcompensate with gifts, texts, and attention, thinking they can buy loyalty, when in reality it cheapens their presence. They threaten to leave, but because it comes from a place of fear, not strength, it rings hollow, and worst of all, they beg for clarity, asking, "What are we? Do you still like me? Am I enough?" Every time those words leave a man's mouth, the answer becomes no. Not because she stopped liking him, but because he stopped showing himself as a man who is enough without her answer. The secret is to flip your perspective. Stop seeing her options as your competition and start seeing them as her training ground. Every man who approaches her, every man who offers her easy attention, is a chance for you to stand out by not doing the same. Every test she throws at you, every silence, every delay, is an opportunity to prove that your confidence isn't a costume you wear to impress her, it's who you are at your core. This is where presence comes in. Presence is the energy of a man who doesn't need anything from her, but chooses to share himself with her. It's in the way you stand, the way you hold eye contact, the way you listen without rushing to respond. It's in the way you let silence stretch because you're not afraid of it. Presence tells her, "I'm here, I'm grounded," and nothing you do will shake that. When a woman feels that kind of presence, something profound happens inside her. The other men fade into background noise. Their attention feels cheap, their energy feels shallow. Because once a woman tastes the steadiness of a man who cannot be shaken, no amount of surface-level validation from others can compare. She doesn't just want you, she feels safe with you. And safety, in the deepest psychological sense, is what every woman is truly searching for in her choice. But let me warn you, embodying this presence isn't about pretending. You can't fake it. Women are intuitive, deeply so. They can sense when a man's calm is just a mask for anxiety. They can feel when your patience is actually desperation in disguise. That's why the work has to be real. You have to become the man who genuinely doesn't need her validation, who genuinely knows his worth, who genuinely finds fulfillment in his mission and life, not in her approval. When that is true, every test she throws at you becomes effortless to pass. Not because you're trying, but because it's who you are. So if you want to be the man she chooses when she has options, you need to stop looking at her and start looking at yourself. Are you the kind of man who could walk away without crumbling? Are you the kind of man whose life is meaningful even without her? Are you the kind of man who, when tested, doesn't fight or fold but simply stands? Because that's the man who wins, not by force, not by persuasion, but by inevitability. And when she feels that inevitability, when she sees that no matter what other men exist, none of them carry the depth, the steadiness, the presence you embody, that's when her decision is made. Not because she had to, not because you begged her, but because she couldn't help it. And that is the truth most men never realize until it's too late. The moment you stop competing with other men is the moment she stops comparing you to them. There comes a moment in every man's journey where he realizes the battle was never about her at all. It was never about proving yourself against other men, never about standing taller, talking louder, buying more, or chasing harder. It was about the silent war within, the war between the man you are when the world is watching and the man you are when no one is. Because a woman doesn't choose based on the mask you present in the early stages. She chooses based on the man you reveal when time and pressure strip everything else away. And this is why so many fail. Because their worth is borrowed, their strength is temporary, their confidence evaporates under the heat of reality. But the man who wins is the one who has already chosen himself long before she ever gets the chance. I once knew a man named Jacob who embodied this. He had loved and lost, been betrayed, been abandoned, had every reason to give up on women altogether. Yet instead of breaking, he went inward. He built a business from nothing, strengthened his body, healed his mind. He learned to sit with silence, to walk alone, to laugh without needing company, to stand without needing applause. When he eventually met a woman who had her fair share of suitors, she felt something in him instantly, not charm, not effort, not even raw attraction. She felt peace. The kind of peace that can't be faked. She tested him, of course. She disappeared, she provoked, she watched. And through it all, Jacob remained steady. He didn't punish her, he didn't reward her. He didn't bend his world to fit her storms. He simply remained who he was. And in the end, she said something she never admitted to any other man. With you, I feel safe enough to surrender. That is the secret, the hidden layer men often miss. A woman doesn't truly give herself to the man who impresses her the most. She gives herself to the man she feels safest to surrender around. And safety doesn't come from money, or looks, or gifts, or constant words of reassurance. Safety comes from consistency. From the man who is the same on a good day and a bad day. From the man who doesn't lose himself when she withdraws, who doesn't rage when she challenges him, who doesn't crumble when life shakes the ground beneath him. Safety comes from the man who can walk away without hate, who can stay without fear, who can choose without hesitation. That man isn't an option. He becomes the answer. You see, when she has other options, she is unconsciously measuring one thing above all else. Who do I trust with my heart, my body, my future? The men who posture, who chase, who beg, who try to outdo one another, they fail because their worth is tied to her reaction. But the man who has already chosen his own worth, who treats himself as the prize without arrogance, who walks in his purpose whether she comes or goes, that man doesn't just stand out, he becomes undeniable. She may flirt, she may wander, she may hesitate, but eventually she returns, because no matter how many options she entertains, none of them hold the stillness of the man who cannot be moved. And here's the final truth you need to accept. If she doesn't choose you, it's not your loss, it's hers. Because the man who knows his value doesn't lose when a woman walks away, he simply makes room for the one who can see it. You do not chase validation. You do not compete for scraps. You do not bow to options. You live so deeply in your own strength, so powerfully in your own purpose, that she either aligns herself with your world or watches you build it without her. That is the position of power a man must embody, not to manipulate her choice, but to stand so firm in his own that hers becomes inevitable. So listen carefully. Stop asking, how do I make her choose me? And start asking, how do I become the man she cannot risk losing? Because the day you become that man, the competition ends. Not because they give up, but because she finally sees the difference between a boy chasing attention and a man living in truth. And if you remember nothing else from this entire journey, remember this. The moment you stop acting like an option is the moment you become her only choice.